European society, right? You have, the values of, Christian morality, right? You have values of even moral principles like that were established by sort of utilitarian doctrines, right? That had been established at that time. Where did you come from?
AP Spanish.
Oh, so you decided to come to class even after your AP exam?
Yeah.
Oh,
For this class.
I feel quite honored.
Points for Gryffindor.
Yeah, an extra couple of points for you. But so utilitarian systems of morality, Christian systems of morality, the ones that we had upheld for centuries, right, are now basically called into question. And I wouldn't just say Christian; I would say Judeo-Christian, right? Because it goes back to basically the same value system, right? These are all called into question. That's what I did with question 2. I think they're kind of related in a way, right? They've really been attacked. And the post-World War II era is going to be an attempt, and the establishment of Israel is one way, the establishment of NATO, the defense against communism, the safeguarding of democratic Christian values that comes about in the 1950s, 60s, 70s. This sort of Cold War era is protection of those values that seem to have been evaporated by the Holocaust.
Well, no, I was just going to say that when it comes to especially
Speak on the
well, oh, sorry. I was just going to say that especially with the Holocaust and also alongside just the war itself, it seems that the Holocaust it changed a lot of Europeans' attitudes, and there was a lot. I mean, obviously after World War II, there was obviously a lot less nationalism that kind of went away, and a lot of places actually became very taboo since then. And that, coupled with just the horrors of World War II, was what led to a lot of the political developments that we saw with the creation of international treaties and the Lisbon Treaty, which sealed what we know as.
That's an excellent point, right? So the nationalism that led to fascism became very taboo, and John is dead right with this. Okay, if there's one thesis essentially for post-World War II Europe, it's that hyper-nationalism that had been strong in Europe in the pre-war era became very unpopular, and instead the notion of international organization, international treaties, working together, protecting our collective histories, memories, values, ideologies, protecting all of that is paramount, and that's going to lead to the establishment of this notion of the European Union, the European Economic Community, and obviously UN and NATO and peace organizations worldwide that are meant to sort of safeguard the traditional values that have been around in European society and agreed upon by Europeans for centuries, right? And so the divisions between us are sort of put aside in exchange for the commonalities among us. And I think what the nation still does exist and service in the post-World War II era is what? What does the nation, or what is the state, what is the role of the state post-World War II Europe going to be? Andrew?
To provide for its citizens in a new sort of way.
Yes, for example.
European healthcare and old age benefits, pension benefits, that sort of thing.
That's exactly right. Right? So the role of the state in the post-World War II Europe is the welfare state, as you just said, right? The welfare state. Okay? Universal health care, pension plans, social security, unemployment benefits, welfare programs, education, okay? All the things that are going to protect the dignity of the individual citizens, because let's face it, they're fed up with war. War has divided them, decimated them, destroyed their society, and they want a new kind of political system that will protect those interests that we just talked about. So I guess, again, going back to the original question is there a link between Primo Levi's memoir and post-World War II Europe, or is that a stretch?
The images that you present to the images that the capitalists were
Yeah, the images, the inhumanity, the loss of dignity are the catalyst. The pure evil that is World War II and the Holocaust is the catalyst for these sort of new ideologies that will come up and play out, especially in Cold War politics in post-World War II Europe. Okay, yeah.
As it was mentioned, like morality kind of got thrown out the window, but when I was doing a little research onto the title, it turned out that English publishers just changed the name to Survival in Auschwitz. I never understood why exactly.
Anybody have an answer for that? Sean, you have an answer for that?
Well, I don't know, maybe Germany, would they be upset by that?
It's not going to sell.
Yeah, if this
Well,
is a man,
where is Auschwitz, man? Poland. It's in Poland, right? So the Germans, I mean, they're not.
yeah, it's not gonna sell.
We're trying to sell books here, right? The British publishers changed the title from "Is This a Man" to "Survival in Auschwitz," right? What's going to pop out on the shelf at Barnes and Noble? Survival in Auschwitz. Everyone knows what Auschwitz is, or at least they've heard about it, right? Is this a man, or if this is a man?
It's too philosophical.
Yeah, it's philosophical. It's subjective. It's it doesn't sell books.
Yeah, I think Survival in Auschwitz also would capture the more casual reader's attention, and I think it's more of like an action-packed title, whereas a lot of people probably wouldn't have the patience for If This Is a Man.
Right.
Block the shot,
you're
man.
telling the move.
Oh man, Ben.
So anyway,
Money
you have
shot. Money.
It's definitely a selling point more than anything else. Sean?
Yeah, but I thought it's a negative in the sense that it puts the emphasis on the story itself instead of Levy's real message when he wants the horrors to really be remembered, and that as we talked about how the SS were so dehumanizing towards the people, and when I found out it was changed to Survival in Auschwitz, I kind of just thought of the story itself, and I read it in the sense that it was a story, and I don't know, If This Is a Man, it kind of had a stronger feeling, he's more focused on trying to have the Holocaust to be remembered and taught.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think Survival in Auschwitz puts it into this sort of wider context of a story, and maybe a story that could be attached to a number of different prisoners, this shared experience, and I mean that story still has power and a message of its own. But really, I think it does strip away a little bit the meaning of the book, which, if you read it, I mean, the title isn't the end of the book. You read the book, you do realize that it's a story, a personal story, of one's own battle or questions about his own humanity. And how many of you did a little bit of research on Primo Levi?
Committed suicide. You
Yeah.
said that yesterday.
He committed suicide in 1985. He committed suicide, which maybe helps to answer some of our questions about how he felt about his humanity, having experienced these horrors. And maybe that is the reason why European societies felt compelled to make these decisions, to move in a different direction in the post-World War II era. The idea, I think the second question that I asked, the other option for the essay was, do our traditional European Judeo-Christian values and morals apply, or do they matter, or is it all relative, having read Survival in Auschwitz? Stephen?
I would say other than a connection between reading Primo Levi and then while finding Western Front, the boots, and I'll apply it in the Western Front, and then the utensils that are traded within Auschwitz, it's the same symbolic, like you're only as valuable as your goods, that's all that remains of you, the number, and then like I think it's like Marshall or something, Marshall or whatever the guy name is taken away. He just gives him his knife and spoon, and that's all that remains of him, and that's like all it says.
Yeah, that's all that's left of them. Yeah, there's definitely a connection between Kemmerich's boots and you are as good as sort of the things you carry, right? Yeah.
How would that kind of relate though? Because once you leave the infirmary, I think everything's taken away from you. Was that right? I remember seeing something like that. He had all of his stuff taken away. He had to start over. Like, how would that with this?
Yeah, you're right. But I think the symbolism of it is the same, right? I mean, in reality,
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, the Germans obviously took that stuff away because they knew that, right?
Yeah.
The Germans knew that, that these were the tools that would be used to survive, and that wasn't the goal. Long story short is there's it might be a stretch. I think it's an important book for you guys to have read, as depressing as it is, but it's an important one nonetheless, and a lesson that can be learned in the connection between World War II, the way that Europeans popularly view the war, the Holocaust, the lesson learned from it, and then how that translates into policy, especially from the the British and the French point of view, and the establishment of international organizations and treaties that will help to solidify and protect what little we can still say we have of our morality, of our traditions and belief systems and ideologies. All right, so let's talk about what that is. It's all in the context of what larger sort of political